join me out on the roof today in this cold December day. Just been cleaning leaves off the panels, trying to eke out as much power from this low December sun as much as possible. In this video I'll go through with you my setup, my equipment, my experience over the last 2 years, my solutions to problems, how it all fits and works together. Perhaps it'll be useful aid to you in your future setup. So, enjoy. Initially I started off with the two small panels you see at the front here. They're both 100 watt each, 12 volt panels, so 200 watts. This was connected to a basic cheap PWM solar charge controller. They're not very efficient, but they get the job done on a budget. I think they're under 20 pounds, 20 US dollars, so pretty cheap. This was then connected to a fuse box with car type blade fuses, and then various 12 volt appliances can be wired into this. This worked fine in the summer months when I set it up. There's enough light coming through the trees where I could charge the battery sufficiently. And really I hadn't got things set up properly in the cabin. I hadn't had any lighting wired up. So I was basically just charging my phone through the USB ports on the front of the controller. As soon as it come to winter and I had various things wired up to it, I realised I just wasn't getting enough power. When you get the dark, gloomy days, for several days on end, I just really wasn't getting anything. So I decided to upgrade to a Renogy 20 amp MPPT controller. This is said to be 30% more efficient than the basic PWM controllers. With an input of 12 volts, it's rated up to 260 watts of input on the panels. So my 200 watts, I was covered. But even then, with this upgrade, still wasn't quite getting what I needed. So I decided I needed to upgrade my system even further. So I then bought the 3 larger panels you see at the back. These are 160 watt 12 volt panels each, therefore 480 watts altogether. As you can see around the back here, I have them connected to this 3 junction adapters in parallel, so they retain the 12 volts and times the amperage by 3 times. So obviously, as I said before, with a 20 amp controller, the maximum input is 260 watts. So at the same time I bought a Renogy 40 amp MPPT controller. So this is rated up to 520 watts with 12 volts input. So therefore I was covered. As it still had the original panels and controller, I decided to keep that in the system. So in the diagram here you can see a basic overview of how it's all set up. Now you might be wondering why I have the smaller panels lying pretty much flat on the roof instead of the other panels up at an angle. The reason for that was I found that on those darker days, with the trees out in front, it's just a sort of a dark mass. So the only sort of available light in those circumstances is from the gap in the canopy above, as you can see here. So at least I can get a bit of power. I have a 12 volt to 5 volt converter USB module, which my mobile data Wi-Fi router is plugged into, and I can charge various USB devices from this too. Other things I run off this are a few 12 volt light strips and a couple of water pumps. What I haven't mentioned yet is that I've also got another complete solar power setup. This is for my mains power system. I have two 12 volt 300 watt panels on the roof. These are connected in series to make it up to 24 volts. This goes into a 24 volt hybrid solar controller stroke inverter. This goes to two 100 amp hour gel batteries connected in series, making it 24 volts. I don't have any large appliances to run. I just use this mainly to charge my laptop occasionally, and also some power tool batteries. In the summer months it's fine with these big panels. I get plenty of power to charge them and also run my mains power sound system. But in the winter months I don't get a lot. It's just basically trickle charging the batteries. So I have a backup generator. I have a lead from the generator wired into the controller. So when I have the generator running, it will charge the batteries and also divert power to the main sockets I have in the cabin. I could just run it for 30 or 40 minutes when I need to, switch it off, and there's enough power charged up in the batteries where I can, say, run my sound system for 4, 5 or 6 hours perhaps. If I also need to top up my 12 volt system, I have a mains powered car battery charger which I can plug in and connect to my 12 volt battery and top that up. Anyway, I hope you found this video useful, and there'll be some more info in the description. Perhaps there's a few things I've missed out here. Thanks for watching.